Hello, everybody, in Mr. Arnold's workplace law class. You are now watching a live stream of the Law and Morality and the Roots of Historical Roots of Law lesson for workplace law. And what we're going to look at today is we are going to look at a short description of law and morality. We are going to look at a slideshow, and you are required to complete a worksheet on the historical roots of Canadian law. So as you can see here, we have the historical roots of Canadian law handout. Now we have this historical roots of Canadian, the law and morality handout. So here it is. So our laws are supposed to be based on values and morals from a society, and we'll talk about that more in class. For instance, if murder is illegal, we value human life. School children must go to school until age 18. In fact, that was changed a little while ago, and child abuse laws, we do value children as well. You have to ask yourself when you're looking at the laws of other societies, do they reflect society? And the other thing about law is that oftentimes morals or values will change over time. And Canadian law is balanced out to reflect those changes in values or morals over time. You can see here that there is a political spectrum and the effects that it have, and then some cause and effect relationships of the different changes in law. For instance, if there is more government assistance for the poor and unfortunate, then it would turn out that that might turn into something like less crime going on. And the socialist societies believe that that is a way to get at the root cause of crime. Whereas just dealing with crime itself, that's more of a right-wing way of looking at things, like progressive conservative and such. And that is tough on criminals. That means tougher sentences against criminals for committing certain crimes. So take a look at that law and morality. You don't have to look at it for that long. And the next thing we're going to show you is the historical roots of Canadian law slideshow. You have a copy of this on your lesson for today, and you can watch it there. But right now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go in presentation mode, and you'll be able to see the presentation itself. All right, so the roots of Canadian law. Ancient roots. In small communities of long ago, few laws were needed. Those laws that existed were not written down, and laws were known through word of mouth. That means one person talking to another person. You may be surprised to know, in an ancient civilization, that you broke a law when you didn't even know what that law was. So as societies increased in numbers, laws had to be written down so that everyone could know and understand them. This is called codification or codification. The first example of a handwritten law, a law that someone could go and find, is called Hammurabi's Code. This was in the Babylonian society, and there's the code. Handily written on a large piece of stone, which was great if you knew how to read, and also if you had access to the temple. And there's that word again, the codified set of laws. It's one of the earliest records of written laws. That's the significance of it. All right, there's the actual stone tablet. Theft and assault. So these are laws that were on the Code of Hammurabi. So if you steal the property of a temple or the court, you will be put to death. Ooh, there's one. If a son strike his father, his hand shall be hewn off. Yes, that means cut off. So looking at the original meaning of an eye for an eye, if a man puts another man's eyes out, his eye shall be put out as well. You get a bone broken if you break someone else's bone. If a man knocks out the teeth of his equal, his teeth get knocked out too. Marital issues. There you go. The one thing with this marital issue is that most people did not know how to swim back then, so this would inevitably end up with a woman drowning. Lots of instances of casting people in water in ancient society. Hey, here we go. So, if you went to build someone's house and the house would fall and kill its owner, then the builder should be put to death, which would be an interesting thing for contractors these days. Go. So, if a doctor would have messed up on someone's operation, then the doctor's hands would be cut off. Okay, so you really had to have some evidence. This was also an idea that you did have to use evidence to charge someone, and if you did not have it, and it was a capital offense like murder, the person who brought the accusation would be killed. Okay. Another instance of the river. So if a person accused someone of something else, the accused person had to go leap in the river, and if they sunk, oh, guess what? You get to take the person's house. If you got out, then the person who brought the accusation would have been put to death. So as a Babylonian, it would have been a good idea to learn how to swim. Here we go. Significance. Punishment could only be imposed under law a step forward at that time. A lot of proof was needed before you could prove that someone was guilty. And no one could be punished without first being charged and found guilty. So you couldn't just say, Bob, you're guilty, and then take them away and kill them. They had some sort of a trial process for it. Mosaic law, aka the Ten Commandments. Another set of recorded laws given to the Hebrew people, also known by some as Jewish people. Some examples. So greater emphasis on protecting the innocent. If an ox gored, that means if an ox, say, rammed a horn into a person, then the ox's owner, the ox would be killed, but the owner would not. So distinguish between deliberate, careless, and accidental acts. So as you can see, there are many different codes on this presentation. Now the presentation corresponds directly with a handout that you will receive as well. And this handout being your Historical Roots of Law Matrix. This is the document here. And what you are going to do is you are going to fill out information about the historical roots of law on this document. Now, it may be easier to work in a group and everyone fill out one section of this and come together with a completed document at the end. So all of this information was taken from two sources. The first one being the Roots of Law presentation here. The second is from the yellow textbook entitled Law in Action, and it's pages 14 to 30 in the textbook. Now, as you can see on the Roots of Law, or Roots of Canadian Law slideshow, you can see that there are pieces like society, values, punishments, and significance determined for you there. So back in the presentation, we learned that the significance of Babylonian law, or the Code of Hammurabi, was it was one of the first instances of a codified set of law or written down. I've also included 2 specific punishments here. And the significance is also known as what was changed, or what it brought to the law. The values you can better find in the textbook. So it talks about the value of beer in the textbook. It talks about the value of them being an agricultural society. Also, because of an eye versus an eye, you had the value of revenge. And you also have the value of children. So as a class, we can go through and do another example together. The last piece that I'm going to show you from this is British roots of Canadian law, and specifically the different types of trials that British roots bought. So much of Canadian law comes from the British tradition of law. First of all, trial by ordeal. This is an interesting one. And a common way to determine if a person was guilty or innocent. Painful or dangerous tests. The first one being trial by red hot iron. If people are in a dispute, if you had an argument with a friend, you grabbed a red hot iron at the same time, and the guilty person was the first who dropped it. I don't think anyone wins in the trial by hot iron. Same thing with hot water. But this time, how long it took for your wounds to heal, which back when they didn't use soap was probably a very long time, and things got a lot worse in that time. Trial by water. Here's another one. Guess what? Most people couldn't swim at this time either. So chances are you got rid of the person very easily. Here's a good one. If you choked while answering questions, you were found to be giving false testimony. Combat. Here you go. So they took away trial by ordeal. They put people into duels and believed that the person that was innocent would be the person that won. If you were a woman or a priest at this time, you were lucky. You could choose someone else to duel for you. Trial by compurgation is one of the first instances of a trial by jury. 12 people you could find who could swear that your statements were true. And elements of this are in the Canadian system today. 12 jury members are the amount of jury members that are used in a trial. So now we see that there are some reforms happening. We have the rule of law, which was recognized in what was called the Magna Carta, a document which I've seen. So the person who is charged with an offense must be present. And now Aboriginal law. And you can find this in the textbook as well. So before white people came to Canada, there were laws and there were confederacies that were formed to maintain order and alliances and such. They were based upon, well, the same principles as we have in modern civil rights. So we can be thankful to Indigenous peoples for the roots of law of civil rights. Okay. So you are to create a timeline of these ancient laws, and you are to complete the historical roots of law matrix. Again, if you have any questions for me, please ask, as I'll be able to help during class. Thanks very much, and I'll talk to you soon.